Hi, and welcome to this online training course. My name is Jerry and I'm one of the co-founders of Accessible Surveys. This training course is designed for anyone who is new to Accessible Surveys. It accompanies you to create a simple training survey. This hands-on exercise will familiarise you with all the key features offered by the platform, putting you in a great position once you've finished it to create your own surveys. Completing this training survey does not count as part of your organisation's survey quota, and please encourage any members of your team who will be creating surveys to take this training course and create their own training survey. The training is divided into 5 sections, and these mirror the process of creating, testing, sharing and analysing the results of the survey. This first session shows you how to create a new survey and will take about 25 minutes to complete. Before starting this session, you should download the text for training survey from the online help, and this is what it will look like. Great. So when you've signed into your account and you're on your survey workspace, this is what your screen will look like. At the top of the page, you'll see any surveys that you've starred, and in the table you'll see any surveys that you've already created. Both these fields are blank for now because you haven't created any surveys. To create your first survey, select the blue New Survey button in the bottom right, and you can give this a name, Training Survey, and we can enter that into the description as well. A little tip, if you use the Control A, that will select any text in the field, Control C to copy it, and Control V to paste it. Those shortcuts are going to save you a bit of time as you work on the platform. So we're now going to click select next, and now you have some different options about how you create a form, and a form is where you decide your questions. So you can start with a new empty form and use the form builder. You can create a form using AI prompts. If you have your questions in a document, you can save that as a PDF and then upload that. Or if you've already created a form, you can select that. These different options are covered in a separate masterclass. For now, we're going to select the option create a new form. We're going to give this form the name training form, and we're going to use Control A, Control C, Control V to give that in the description as well. It's going to automatically create your first page, which is fine. We're then going to select next and confirm, and then we'll get a little message that the app is creating a new survey, and now we can see the new survey in the tree grid. So if we select that, if we right click on that, we're then able to star that so it appears at the top of the page, and then we can select the blue edit button to start working on it. You will now see the different elements of your survey in the tree structure in the second column along. I will talk you through these briefly. The introductory page is where respondents will first land when they click on your survey link. It's a great place to explain what your survey is about, how long it will take to complete, and how you'll look after your respondents' data. The form is the main part of your survey, and this is where you will add the questions that you want to ask. The submit message is optional, as explained in a separate guidance note, and the thank you page will be presented to respondents once they submit your survey. Let's start in the introductory page, and we'll give the survey a title. Again, let's call it Training Survey, and then we will add some content to the landing page. And for this, we'll refer to the text for Training Survey, and we'll select the content for the introductory page, copy it, and we will paste it in there. Now, this free text box supports Markdown, which basically means you can format it however you want. You can do things like add images or videos, and there is a formatting ribbon at the top. What can be done in a free text field is explained in a separate guidance note. For now, we're just going to add a accessibility menu from the options at the top. And if we click onto preview, we can see how the introductory page is going to be presented. to survey respondents. We're then going to go down to the thank you page and we're going to add some content in the same way. We're now going to focus on the form, which is the central element of your survey, because this is where you're going to add the questions. But let me just explain how a form is structured. So a form uses pages, and pages have sections, and then questions are added to sections. Pages allow you to group questions of a similar topic together, and respondents will scroll through pages as they complete your survey. Sections are used as they provide survey builders with more flexibility than if questions were just added directly to a page. For instance, logic can be applied at a section level, and soon it's going to be possible to share sections between surveys. Let's start by renaming the first page. Let's call it Surveys. And with the section, sections aren't actually presented to respondents, so this is just an internal name. So let's keep it as section 1. We're now at a point where we can start to add questions. So there's different ways of doing this. There's the option to add a question here, but what we're going to do is we're going to activate the add content mode on the bottom right hand side. And when we do that, we can see the different question types that are available appear in the column on the right hand side. First of all, we have the option to just add a free text field into your survey. Then you have some different text-based questions. There's more if you expand the arrow. You then have various choice-based questions below, a few single choice questions, and you also have the option to include a file upload, again with different types of files that you can specify. Now we're in a position where we can add our first question to our survey. So let's go to the text for training survey, and we can see that the first question, which survey tool does your organisation use the most, is a text-based question. So we're going to select the text field option, and we're going to drag and drop it to where we want it to appear in the page. And then we're going to go and copy the question label, and we're going to paste it into where it says label. We're not going to use any supporting text for this question, so we can select OK. Congratulations, you've added your first question. We can now see that the next question is a options type question. So with options type questions, radio group and drop down force respondents to select a single response, whereas a checkbox group allows a respondent to select multiple responses, and a ranking question allows respondents to put options in order of preference. So with this particular question, we're going to use a radio group. So we're going to drag and drop that into where we want it to appear in the page. And we are going to go into the PDF and select the question. And this time it does have helper text, so we can select that as well. You'll notice that both the question label and the supporter text have character restrictions. This is to encourage conciseness, but it can be overridden. So you'll notice if you select OK, the question will appear, but then we can go back into the question to add the options. And when we go back, those option restrictions have now been removed. And we have the option to add an option. So we're going to select that button now. We know we want to add 5 options, so we're going to add 5 options immediately just to save us a bit of time. There they are, and then we're going to go select option 1, and we can go back into the PDF and select that first option and copy it in there. Select the second option. So I'm using the shortcuts Control C to copy, Control A to select the text, and Control V. If your survey has some questions that require the same options, there is a way to share options across questions, so you don't need to be constantly entering in these option labels. That is an advanced feature, but it's explained in a separate guidance note. It's actually really easy to do and will save you a lot of time. Okay, great. So we have now added the options for that question. To come out of the question, let's explain some options you have here. If you've set up a question, say, as a radio group, but then you decide you want to actually change it into a different type of choice-based question, you can do that by selecting the switch question type. You can delete options here. And if you select this option, edit in tree grid, that just takes you through to a view, the settings view, where you can just gives you a bit more space to edit that question. We're now going to go back into the add content mode so we can add additional questions. The next two questions are both text-based, but we want respondents to give a slightly longer answer. So we're going to use the text area question type for this. And this is written in the same way as a normal text-based text field question. Going to enter the question label. We don't need any supporting text. But with the text area, you have some additional ways of customizing that field, such as entering the number of rows that you want to appear on the page. And this is just a nice sort of visual clue as to the length of questions that you would like from your survey respondents. We're also going to use the same text area question type for the next question. I'm going to select OK. Great. Okay, we're going to remember to set the number of rows there. We'll set it again as 5 just to keep consistency. Great. So we've created our first page. So if we look at the text for training, we have a second page with entitled feedback. So to add a second page, we're going to go into the top of the form. We're going to select form in the tree grid, and we're going to right click on that, and then we have the option to add a new page. So we're going to select this from the tree grid. We're going to give it the name feedback. A section has already been created. Remember, sections aren't presented to respondents. We're just going to give it the name section 2 as an internal name, and we're going to click on the add content mode. And this question is a ratings type question, so we're going to select that, and we're going to give it the label, did you like this survey? And this question also has some helper text, so we're going to select that as well. By default, the ratings question presents 5 stars. You can alter the number of stars here if you would like, but 5 is good for us, so we're going to select OK. We're now ready to test the form. This can be done from selecting Test in the top menu. Now you'll see the pages of your survey on the left-hand side and the questions in the middle of the page. There is a test ribbon on the right-hand side, which is explained in a separate guidance note, but one of the things that it allows you to do is you can activate the edit mode, and you can edit the questions directly from here. Looking at the questions on page 1, it would make sense if the question, what do you like about the survey tool that you're using, only appears when the answer to the previous question is strongly agree or agree. And similarly, the question, what frustrates you about the survey tool you're using, should only really appear if the answer to the previous question is disagree or strongly disagree. This can be done using survey logic. To apply survey logic, go into the build view and select the visibility mode from the actions in the bottom right hand side. Now, logic is always applied to the form element that you want to be affected by the logic, and logic can be applied at a page level, at a section level, or at a question level. In this instance, it's the question, what do you like about the survey tool that you're using, that we want to apply the logic to. We can expand the tree grid to get a better view on it. So we're going to select that from the tree menu, and we've activated the visibility mode. So we now have the option to create a logical expression. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to lock the tree grid, and this allows us to select the different elements of the survey from the tree structure. In this case, the logic is going to be based on the respondent's answer to this question, based on their level of satisfaction with their current survey tool. Now, logical expressions are mathematical expressions which evaluate a statement and return a result of either true or false. And the item that the logic is applied to is then either displayed if the result is true and hidden if the result is false. Let's see how this works in practice. I want to test whether the answer to the question I'm satisfied with my current survey tool is either strongly agree or agree. So these are the elements that I want to involve in my logical expression. So I'm going to start by dragging the question I'm satisfied with my current survey tool into the logical expression field, and I'm going to find out whether the answer to that question equals strongly agree, and I'm using equals the equal sign for that. I'm then going to test the logical expression that I've set up, and I can now see that if the answer to that question is blank, or if any of these responses are given, then the answer to that logical expression is false, and so the item is hidden. However, if the answer is strongly agree, the answer to that logical expression is true, and so the item is displayed. So this is the first element of that logical expression. However, I also want to involve the agree. So the logical expression is if the answer to that question is equals strongly agree or agree. So to enter the or into the logical expression, I'm going to use a symbol which is called the vertical bar. And this is on the same key as your backslash on your keyboard, and you'll need to press down the space key in order to select that. So I'm now going to drag the question into the logical expression, and I am going to do equals equals, and I'm going to drag in the agree. So the expression now reads, is the answer to the question I'm satisfied with my current survey tool, does that equal strongly agree, or does it equal agree? And I can see from here, I can now test that, and I can see that if any of these options are selected, either neither agree or disagree, strongly agree or disagree, the answer is false and the item will be hidden. But if agree is selected, or if strongly agree is selected, the answer is true, and so therefore this follow-up question will be visible. And we can now unlock the tree grid, and we can go back into the test view to see if that logic is working correctly. What we can do from the test ribbon, we can easily just clear the test data. So we're starting with a blank page, and we can see that when no answer is selected, the follow-up question doesn't appear. Similarly, if we select these options, but if we select strongly agree or agree, this follow-up question does appear. So we're now going to go back and we're going to apply basically the same logic, but to this follow-up question. So again, we go back into the build mode. We are going to select the question that we want the logic to be applied to from the tree structure. So this time it's what frustrates you about your survey tool. We're going to need to unlock the tree grid. We must have forgotten to do that the previous time. So we can now select that question from the tree grid. We can create our new logical expression. We're going to lock the tree grid so we can bring in these different elements. And we're actually going to write the expression in exactly the same way, but we're just going to use bring in different options. So we're going to start by setting up the expression and dragging in the question I'm satisfied. But this time we're going to ask whether the response to that is disagree. We're then going to enter the or feature, which is the two vertical lines, and we're then going to bring in the question again, and we're going to see if that equals strongly disagree. So now the logical expression we've created asks whether the answer to that question equals disagree or strongly disagree. And again, we can test that expression here. We can see if no answer is given, the result to that question is false, and so the item will be hidden. Similarly, if strongly agree or neither agree or disagree is given as answers, but if disagree is given as an answer or strongly disagree as an answer, then the result is true and the item will be displayed. And again, we can go back into the test view and we can just check that that's working as we intended. So that's all. Writing logical expressions can take some time to master. However, there's plenty of support and examples available in the online help. This feature is extremely powerful and can be used to tailor your survey for your respondents. Congratulations, you've now completed the first training session. This is by far the heaviest in terms of content. By now you should feel confident with creating a new survey and adding questions to your form. There are some advanced features that we did not cover, such as using tooltips to explain specific words, and links to guidance notes on these features are available in the training guide for this session.